illustrations are really, really cool in this book, and it's the illustrator is Mordecai Gerstein, and he illustrated the book, The Man Who Walked Between the Towers. Have you ever seen that book?
No, I don't think I have.
About and it's a true story about when the Twin Towers were still the Twin Towers in New York City.
Oh.
And this guy went up there in the night and he strung a tightrope wire between the towers and he walked across it.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
And he got arrested because that's not a cool thing to be doing. But then he ended up, the judge gave him community service instead of putting him in jail, and said he had to go and basically put on shows for children because he was a really phenomenal tightrope walker. Anyway, the pictures in here are really great, and so here's an illustration of the giant sequoias.
Wow.
I just like how it turns the book around like that. And here they ran into a bear at one point. Here they're camping, which I think is a funny picture. And there's a really neat picture of the night sky. I like this page a lot. They camped high above the valley floor. Johnny made the president a bed of branches, and they settled near the fire for warmth. Johnny began his story. This whole continent is a great garden. Before the beginning of time, ancient sea covered the land, churning the rocks into soil. As the sea dried, volcanoes sculpted mountains and valleys. Glaciers carved rivers and created plants. My children should see this place, said Teety. I hope it is still here for them, said Johnny. Trees and flowers grew into forests and meadows. Wild birds and beasts filled the land. Everywhere nature sang her melody. Can you hear it? Under the trees, Teety and Johnny slept. And it just kind of continues to go through their journey and all of the park that they saw. And toward the end of the journey, John Muir starts talking to him about what can we do to save this? And he says, if they keep building, the wilderness won't last another 10 years. How can I help? Asked the president. Keep it wild, Muir said, and protect it forever. And so then they went about a little more, and Roosevelt started to ask, well, what if everyone owned the wilderness? What if both rich and poor could spend time out in the open? What if we could save the forests for all the children to come? And in that, then President Roosevelt went back to the White House, and he thought about it, and he came up with a plan for how he could protect it and save it. And so he created the National Park System, where all of these great places would be preserved forever.
That's really cool.
Isn't that neat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The author is Barb Rosenstock, in case you were wondering.
So, did he
That's
create the Ice Age trails that we were just walking on?
No, do you want to know what created the Ice Age trail? Well, you know how he talked about glaciers?
Yeah.
So about 10,000 years ago, this was all covered with ice. It was a great sheet of ice during the Ice Age. And when that ice receded, it melted back and it left all the formations, the geological formations. And the trail follows all of those formations. So if you picture this huge lobe of ice covering all of this land, and when it went back, it doesn't just go back in a uniform way, right? It kind of goes and ebbs and flows and does different things. And that's what the trail follows. It follows that recession pattern.
Huh.
That's why it's called the Ice Age Trail.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, now I see why it's called that. Oh, never
Yeah.
really thought
And so the other neat thing that you can do, this is a little bit harder, but you can see a lot of those geological remains when you hike on the trail. You can see what's called a drumlin or an esker. So they're different features that you see in the land. So one is like a cone-shaped hill, and these are just features that have been made in the land that you can see, but they're hard to see. Kind of unless you can really get up high and look down. Or sometimes it's easier in the winter or the fall when everything's dead and you can just look out over a wide area.
Huh.
Yeah.